Let's go. All right, so I think we're live. I'm gonna hope we're live, and I'm just gonna go with it and keep talking. Artemis here is doing the run, and I'm Remorelic, or Rem. I'm gonna be doing the commentary here, and we're about to get started. So I guess I'll count down, and then he'll start the timer. So 3, 2, 1, go. So, all right. So a little bit of backstory. So basically, the main character Sakia here has been teleported to this world by her mistress Vermilia, and she doesn't really know what's going on. She just knows that she needs to find them, and that's basically the backstory and where we're starting. So this is Touhou Lunar Nights. The full release came out, I think a week and a half ago. Very, very recent. And so we're just gonna start here, and at the very beginning, we're gonna be doing a snail time to get through that little barrier, and then the most important trick we have in our arsenal is knife hovering. So basically, when we throw knives downwards, we'll get a little bit of extra height for the first few, but for most of them, it will just keep our height off the ground, and we can use it to cover large gaps. And later, we can use it to do some cool tricks and stuff. So there you just saw something that you tried to attempt called phone skip. It's a hard skip which uses knife hovers, gaining height to skip a dialogue barrier. You don't lose any time for not getting it, so we just tried to get it during the run. And now we're going to be picking up the stopwatch. So with this stopwatch, we can now stop time, and there's two main different ways we can manipulate time in this run. We can either snail time, which slows down everything but us, or we can stop time, which makes it so only we can do actions. And so coming up here, he's going to stop time, and this is going to be used to get across a pond barrier here. So since time is stopped, water doesn't move, and we can walk on the water molecules to get across this pond. And there are a whole bunch of different puzzles in the game. So we are doing the 80% route. We're still kind of working on the route a little bit, but for the first few stages, most routes are the exact same, because without slide, which we're coming up to, and some other items, it's really hard to not take the same route. So in that puzzle, we stop time to make the thing not come down, and then we unstop time because the waterfall from the grate there would stop our progress. So coming up here in this room, we're gonna snail time so we can get enough damage off to get through these guys, hopefully without taking damage. And then coming up here, we're gonna get slide, which is one of the key items in this game. Basically, it allows you to, slide to get under small gaps, and it's also the fastest movement in the game. So we're gonna use this as our main method of movement when we don't have to do any tricks. So you'll see we can use slide to kind of squeeze in through gaps. And using this, we also get a little bit of burst of speed because the slide speed will maintain through the fall. So we can use this to fall large distances very fast. And now we're on a return trip from slide, and we're gonna go back. There was a room that we passed where we needed slide to get through. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna go through that room. Here we have to use snail instead of time stop because that water barrier would prevent us from getting through. So there's a lot of really interesting puzzles where you kind of have to figure out, am I using snail, am I using time stop, am I using both? So coming up here is the room where we need to do slide. And so we need slide to get through here. And then after this room, there's a cool little thing where you can do where if we time stop on the entry of the room, the platform will stay where we want it to, and then we can throw some knives from time stop to kind of get rid of the spirits. And then we can use our knife hovering trick to just not use that elevator. And now we're coming up to the first boss. And we try to get a lot of grays here to get our MP back up. That's something I forgot to talk about. So in this game, if you barely dodge an attack with a good hit, you'll get grays, which gives us MP, HP, and time back. which we use throughout the run to kind of keep our MP up. So for this first boss, we're going to time stop at the start of the thing to get some damage off, and then we're going to follow up with a buffered snail time to get more damage off. And then after that, we're going to kind of try and jump over her here, because we want her to be on the right side of the screen, so when we finish the boss fight, we don't have to walk all that distance. And as he's whittling the boss here, I'll talk about MP a little bit. So, any attack that we do in this game costs 3 MP. So, when we knife hover, for example, we're attacking downwards. So each knife hover costs 3 MP. And so we have to kind of manipulate our MP, because if we just spam knives everywhere, we won't be able to do some tricks. So MP management is very big, which is why we try to graze everything that we can. So now that we've beat Mei Ling, we're coming up here to stage 2. And stage 2, I like to call the slide simulator, because this is where we see the slide used the most. Basically, for this entire stage, we're just sliding through everything. And we can do a cool damage boost coming up. And this damage boost allows us to kind of just go straight down to the corner over here. And then we're just going to time stop for this. And if we get this next part right, we can time stop from here all the way to our next upgrade, which is the double jump, which is the second key item that we need. So yeah, we're just going to slide through this hallway for a while and pick up the double jump. And this is where runs really differ. So every run gets the double jump and every run gets the slide. So for the first about 6 minutes or so, the runs are the exact same. And this is where runs really differ, because with the double jump and the slide, there's a lot of tricks we can do. And so now we're going to head up towards the stage 2 boss room. But we're going to do an interesting skip, which I'll talk about when we get there. But for now, we're just going to kind of kill some things. We need a snail time here so we can get through this puzzle. We snail time basically because it allows us to get through that puzzle in one go, and then we can stop time here. And this trick is really cool coming up. Basically, we squeeze in between this cannon and the wall there. We barely have enough room to make it, and then we don't have to go all the way around. And then we can use the same kind of stop time trick to get the platforms exactly where we want them to be, and then we can carry the stop time all the way over through to the potatoes, these little plants in the ground, because they're very annoying. You don't want to mess with them. They have a very big hitbox for damage, and it lasts for a very long time. So we just stop time, so we don't even have to worry about it. And then coming up in this next room after this is Spike Boss. This is what we call Spike Boss. It's where everybody learns to knife hover, basically. So the goal is to get through here without touching the ground, or the platforms, I mean. And it's very fast if you knife hover through this room, and it's very slow if you don't. So we're going to pick up what we call the Holy Chainsaw here. And this is what we use to do all the damage in the run. It does a lot of damage, you can spam it very fast. And now we're going to do something called Teal Skip. So basically, if you snail time, you can ride cannonballs. And if you snail time up a wall, you can ride cannonballs up. And then if you snail time onto a cannonball, when it hits a surface, that cannonball will remain solid after it hits that surface. And we can use that to clip under the ground. And then under the ground, we hit the loading barrier to get into stage 5. Stage 5 is the hardest part of the 80% round. There's a lot of things that can kill you very quickly, and making like one mistake can just end a run. So we're gonna snail time through here so this cannon doesn't snipe us, and these Gatling gun fairies can easily snipe us. And then we're gonna kind of buffer time stop here so that we can kind of go over this purple barrier. And then we'll go through here, and then we'll snail time here so we can get through these electric lasers in one cycle. And then here we're going to do a knife hovering trick to kind of squeeze in between or over either one, those two faces. This is what we call Monster Room. This room can be very difficult. It requires some pretty precise damage boosts to get through. And damage boosting in stage 5 is very dangerous because, like I said before, one mistake can really cost you the run. And anytime you have to use health is very risky. but that's the monster room. So now we're gonna kind of wait for some time for a little bit because we want to be able to get onto that platform. Needs about 40 time or so. That was close. It's very easy to get sniped by that Gatling Fairy. Luckily, there is, after this room, there is a very nice health pickup that we can get if we need it. As long as he doesn't get sniped by this fairy over here. Very nice. So he's going to pick up that health. And this is really nice because we're going to need to do some pretty precise damage boosting over here twice, and it takes a lot of health. So an interesting thing is if you time stop and enter a room, things haven't been loaded yet. And so you can kind of, like, for instance, the lasers start off and the spikes aren't on. And so we can use that to kind of go through certain lasers, and we can also use that to kind of walk on the floor when we shouldn't walk on the floor. So you'll see that here. And then coming up is probably one of the hardest tricks in any percent. So if you damage boost and then use a chainsaw or a skill, you can use it to reset your animation. And by doing this, it gives us a much easier time window to actually damage boost up through that laser, which is much, much faster than going all the way around. And that was actually found pretty recently. So the old strat was we kind of damage boosted off of the spirit, and it was slower and harder because you had a much tighter window. So very glad we found that. We're going to drop down here and get these knives. Basically, you have a certain number of knives in time stop, and we start out with 18, and each chainsaw takes 10 knives. So by doing this, this gives us 21, because each knife upgrade gives us 3. So with 21 knives, we can throw 2 knives in time stop, or 2 chainsaws in time stop, which really increases our damage potential. So the reason we went to the far left was we were grabbing the purple key, and that's because there's a purple door right here that we need to get through. And then coming up these rooms can be kind of annoying. These flying pigs here are very fast, and sometimes they can go into the exact position you don't want them to, which make them very annoying. And then these ghosts up here, they spawn in random locations. So this room can either be very easy or very annoying. That was very nicely done. And so now we're coming up to the final boss. Is surprise kappas. Spam the kappas in the chat, please. So this is Nitori, and we were trying to do a manip there. So basically, if you slide, you can get a manip where she goes to the far right side of the screen, and you can kind of just wail on her and get a lot of rays. So Nitori has, I think, 5 attacks. So she has the Gatlin, which is at the very beginning where we could get a lot of rays. She has this landmine attack, which we kind of just sit in the corner and do damage. She has this missile phase, which if you slide at the right time, you can get some grays from. Then there's the purple laser phase, which we also use to get grays. Basically, the key thing in boss fights is always keeping your MP and time full, if you can, so you can do more damage. So there are certain phases where we prioritize getting grays over damage. And so after the purple laser phase is the, she summons these little robots, and they'll put little green lasers. And that's one thing you don't really see in this run, is, so purple attacks will move even when time is stopped. Green attacks only move when time is stopped. And yellow attacks will move in reverse when time is stopped. And so coming up, Nitori will go into her special phase, which she just shoots some barrages at you. And then we're going to kind of get some grays here, dodge those green things, and just kind of finish her off. But the real challenge is coming up after this boss. And I would say the biggest time losses in this run are from the boss fights. It's very easy to lose time on these if you miss a few chainsaws, because each chainsaw does 90 damage a route, and missing one costs you a lot of time. We're gonna finish off the last bit of damage here. One more chainsaw should do it. There we go. So that's the Kappa. But wait, there's more? Dun dun dun! No one ever saw it coming. Not a single person. So this boss is not that hard, but can easily combo you if you lose track of what you're doing. So these red balls will give you lots of grays and lots of time. So we can use these to do a lot of damage, but they also deal a lot of damage, and you can kind of get knocked from one to the other. So it's very easy to die very quickly in this boss fight. So the first phase is those yellow ball attacks that you saw, which we kind of dodge side to side to get the grays from. Then next is Cranberry Trap, which is the saw and then the attack with the mouth. Then it's the Four of a Kind phase, and we try to look for a tail, because that's the real one, and we can use chainsaws to get some extra damage off, but it can be very, very, very hard to see. So there's two ways to find it. Either look for the tail, or if you're in time to stop, she's the only one with grays numbers, so you can also find out that way. And that's for the first few phases, is just that cycle just repeats after she does Kagame Kagame, which is this green little attack here. And like I said, it's very easy to die to this boss, because attacks can like knock you into other attacks, and they also do very, very high amounts of damage. And you're not really worried about surviving, you're worried about doing as much damage as possible, and so sometimes you just forget about your health, and then you die. And dying in this boss is very bad because you have to fight the first boss again. So we're just gonna juggle some chainsaws, and this is why chainsaws are so strong, is because they don't cost that much time. They do a lot of damage, and we can kind of juggle them back and forth. Because they only cost 10 knives, and so we can kind of spam them, especially when we're getting so much time. And that trick, even though it doesn't really look like a trick, the boss trigger for the second phase is below 5,000, but it's below 5,000 health after she ends her Four of a Kind phase, so we kind of wait to deal damage until her Four of a Kind phase ends, and then we just spam damage. So we don't have to do the second phase twice, because sadly you can't get any grays in the second phase of the fight, and so we try not to stay in that phase for very long, or at all if possible. So yeah, as you just saw, if you attack the right one first, you can kind of get some extra damage off. I'm hoping at some point they make it a little bit brighter, just because it's very, very hard to see sometimes. And now she's going to be entering her Levantine phase, where she'll attack you with this giant laser and send some balls after you. And then she'll hit you with more giant lasers. And you can't graze any of these. So, and it lasts for quite a bit actually. So the more phases you hit of that, the more time you'll lose. And then we'll just kind of keep wailing on her with chainsaws, watching our health. Ouch, that's rough. Yeah, like I said, it's very easy to die to this boss if you don't watch your health. You can get comboed very easily. And now we'll have to fight the first boss again. So while he's going back to this first boss, there's a lot of different categories for this game. So this is the any percent, and then we have no major skips. And in any percent, we skip stages 3 and stages 4, and then the boss of stage 2. So it's a much different category. Because there's a lot of this game that you're not seeing. And some of those bosses or all of the bosses are really fun, in my opinion. And then we have the reverse boss order category, which is basically using skips. You can fight all the bosses in reverse order, except for the first one, which is a pretty fun category too. It uses all of the skips that we found. And then we actually recently found a skip, which allows us to easily clip through walls better. And so there's a lot that needs to be explored with that clip, but it has a lot of potential to open up the possibility for a lot of things. And then we have a pacifist category, which is basically beat the game without killing anything. So basically don't gain any experience, bosses excluded, which really changes up the run a lot, actually. It's surprising how much different it is to get through a stage when you actually can't kill something, because there's a lot of barriers in your way, enemy-wise. And so you have to damage boost a lot more, which means you're constantly at lower health. And then there's 100%, and the 100% route is really fun because everybody currently has a different 100% route, which makes it really fun. And there's some, like, for instance, my route, I go to stage 5 first, but some people go to stage 3 first. And there's just a lot of different things we're trying to explore. And then there's the best category, which is the dunk percent route, which is basically there's these trash cans in the game, and if you get your soda can into the trash, you'll get money for it. And so the goal is to dunk every single can into every trash can. So now we're coming back up onto this boss again. And there's some tricks that you can do on this boss. So the boss follows you pretty fast, actually. And so if you throw chainsaws one direction, you can kind of actually walk to the other direction to have her walk into your chainsaws. Because jumping costs time. I think jumping is 7 time or 8 time. And time is very valuable because it's a damage source. And so if you want to do it from the ground, you kind of throw the chainsaws into the boss and then walk to the other side, and then the boss will walk into your chainsaws. And then for the temporary trap phase, you can kind of leave some of the robots alive because they give you a lot of praise. And so I at least tend to leave 2 or 3 alive at the beginning and then do some damage to get all of my resources back. But there's still a lot about this boss that we don't know. The game hasn't been out for very long, and this boss does take a lot of time. So there's a lot of time saved here. And then in the 4 of a kind phase, I generally try to end it as quickly as possible, just because the longer you're in that phase, the less the cycle happens. But yeah, this boss can get crazy, as you see. Like, after she enters her Kagame phase, the green orbs can really just start to stack up, and sometimes you'll hit them by accident, or you just won't even see that they're there. And it just kind of rinse repeats for a while. This game is very fun though. I would definitely recommend checking it out, even if you just want to play it casually. The bosses are very fun, stages are very fun, the mechanics are very fluid, and I definitely think it's worth the price to buy. Again, I am a little biased because I do speedrun this game. But even casually, the game's super, super fun. So if you haven't yet, I would definitely recommend picking up this game. At least giving it a try. Alright, so she's gonna enter her Levantine phase again. And it's kind of interesting that a lot of the safe spots for this boss are right underneath the boss. So you kind of just sit underneath the boss. I apologize for my dog in the background. He probably sees a squirrel or something. And we're just kind of dwindling down the last little bit of health here. Nice graze. And that should be the end of the boss. Nice. Nicely done. Nice one cycle on the Levantine. And yeah, that is Touhou Lunar Nights.
I just want to apologize for running a little late, guys. I didn't mean to take that hit at like 200 health. But thanks for hosting us, GamingLand. But yeah, I hope you guys saw something you like. I hope you found it interesting. We do have a Discord if you're interested. Very active, very friendly people. And I'm going to get out of here before they get mad at me. Thanks again, guys. Make sure you support the ASPCA. And yeah, donate some dongers. Peace out, my friends.
Yeah, thanks for watching.